Wednesday morning. It's May 19th, 2021. I'm Guy McPherson of Nature Bats Last, which you can find at guymcpherson.com. Today's science update focuses on the gaslighting from ExxonMobil and other big oil companies, gaslighting you and me and everybody who uses their products. I'll start with a paper from Gizmodo, and I include a link to this paper at guymcpherson.com, as well as to the open access peer-reviewed journal article. So if you're interested in additional information or you want to verify that I'm actually quoting in context, then go to guymcpherson.com and check out those two links. Here's the lead at Gizmodo under the headline, "Exxon blames you for climate change." Over the past few decades, oil companies have largely shifted away from climate denial because it's so obvious to everybody involved. Well, except for the people who write me email messages. Now you can see the energy giants openly acknowledge that climate change is happening, but their new messaging tends to leave a bad taste in my mouth. A new first-of-its-kind study by Harvard researchers Jeffrey Supran and Naomi Oreskes explains why. The new language makes it seem like climate change is our fault, not theirs. It's really a pernicious kind of gaslighting, said Supran, the lead author on this peer-reviewed journal article. The authors published their work on last Thursday, and used machine learning to analyze 212 public and internal Exxon documents from 1972 to 2019. So this is an enormous undertaking. They employed three different kinds of computational linguistics to locate the differences in how Exxon talks about climate change in public versus in private. The discrepancies were stark, as you can imagine. For instance, in internal discussions about climate change, the article goes on, Exxon frequently uses terms like fossil fuel, fossil fuels, and fossil fuel combustion. Similarly, when talking about the effects of using its own products, Exxon's internal discussions are full of terms like fossil fuel emissions and fossil fuel CO2. That sounds about right. But you'll hardly ever see it use these terms in public. Instead it says demand, energy demand, and consumers come with a climate risk, suggesting that individual choices are the problem and the fuels we use are a potential threat to safety rather than the basis of a crisis that's already well underway. I love this admission by Gizmodo. The crisis is already well underway. And instead of saying these actions cause fossil fuel emissions, it opts to use the term greenhouse gas emissions, conveniently omitting information about what products create that pollution. Then we turn to the peer-reviewed article published last Thursday, May 13th, 2021, in One Earth, a peer-reviewed open access journal. The headline is Rhetoric and Frame Analysis of ExxonMobil's Climate Change Communications. Again, it's by Jeffrey Supran and Naomi Oreskes in the Department of History of Science at Harvard University, Cambridge, Massachusetts. And the section on Science for Society is well worth reading it in its entirety. I'm not going to read it to you here, but essentially it is summarized nicely in the Gizmodo article and in several other lay publications, such as the Gizmodo paper, pointing out that this is a particularly pernicious form of gaslighting. Obviously, this is not a new approach. It's not a new approach for the big fossil fuel companies, such as ExxonMobil, and it's not a new approach for any corporations, for that matter. Gaslighting began a long time ago, and as pointed out in this peer-reviewed article, ExxonMobil is using the same strategies, virtually identical to those used by cigarette companies, by the big tobacco companies, not so long ago. So we just fast forward 2 or 3 decades, and it's the same story with only the players changing. The players have changed from big tobacco to big oil. The players that are blamed remain the same. That's you and me. Thanks for paying attention. Thanks for staying tuned. We'll produce another one of these science updates in about a week.